You are good to go.
Perfect. Okay. And then Ashley, if you're able to screen share our presentation.
Yeah, give me a moment to just bring it up on presenter view so I can have my notes still.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, so we're good to start, correct, Deja and Amber? We are live on YouTube.
We are live on YouTube.
Oh boy. Okay, we are broadcasting to the world. All right, so with that, we'll go ahead and kick today's session off. Welcome and thank you all for being here for our spring MSJC Student Town Hall. I am Diego Martinez. I serve as your president for the Student Government Association. Alongside me today, we will have our vice president of the Temecula Valley campus, Joseph Awad. And additionally, online, we have Ashley Freda, who serves as our vice president of the San Jacinto campus. All right, perfect. And if we're able to move on to the next slide, please. Perfect. All right, so a little bit about us. So as your Student Government Association, we are your elected body of students who is able to represent and advocate on behalf of all 15,500 MSJC students. And we tackle any issues that directly affect the student needs and advocate on your guys' behalf. We serve on multiple shared governance or participatory governance committees, both within our institution and on a statewide level. We also oversee all the student life on all of our MSJC campuses. So we are able to host and set up events virtually, in person at our San Jacinto, Temecula, and Manatee Valley campuses. And currently we're working with a team of 10 officers with several vacancies open for the next election cycle for students who are interested to apply. Additionally, as your student government, we host meetings every Monday from 3 to 4 p.m., both in person at the Manatee Valley campus in room 911 and online via Zoom, if you ever wanted to pop in and see what we're advocating and working on your guys' behalf. And the next slide here, we'll be going into our SGA legislative priority updates. This is also brought to you by our SGA Executive Council. And so these are the key issues in which we've been working for the past semester. And it's really showing you guys what has been behind the screen when it comes to your SGA. So the first issue in which we are currently tackling is in regards to our student trustee and granting them an advisory vote when it comes to our Board of Trustees meetings. So several key supporters of our movement and throughout the state is most notably Daisy Gonzalez, who serves as our interim chancellor of our California Community College system. So she's the one who makes decisions on behalf of all 116 California community colleges. And so we had the opportunity to speak with her and we got her full support, and we have the outlook of this advisory vote becoming solidified within our state legislature. So this is a really big deal, and we're really glad that we're able to start making this progress and hopefully getting the student trustee vote across all 116 California community colleges. In addition, we were able to meet with various student trustees from outside of our region, but within our state, who currently cast an advisory vote within their Board of Trustees. And we've been able to notice exponentially the empowerment in which they receive from the institutions that we've noticed that they have the ability to cast that vote. As we are currently pushing for this advisory vote, it is in our horizons to continue this advocacy pathway for our student trustees within our region to have the ability to cast a full Board of Trustees vote when it comes to action items. This is an item that will take probably several years to fully flesh out, but it's one that we are truly dedicated to, and we hope to grant our local student trustees that ability. And with that, I will go ahead and pass it off to our Vice President of the Temecula Valley campus, Joseph Awad, to talk about associated faculty.
So firstly, I'd like to acknowledge all the public efforts made by our institution to ensure that MSJC stands by equity and justice for all. But this particular issue came to our attention after the March Board of Trustees meeting. We had a few professors that came We heard their concerns firsthand on how, or on the terms of their employment. The wide-ranging issues mentioned by those professors covered lack of pay, healthcare benefits, and the fact that they are not guaranteed paid office hours. This means that the office hours have become charity work by faculty, which has a direct impact on students. With part-time faculty teaching nearly 75% of all classes, students may not have that extra time or access to that professor as they are overworked. Personally, as someone who aspires to come back to MSJC as a teacher in a few years, it's a little disheartening to see the outlook of my prospective career as it stands. I would like to make a point to all our professors that we hear them, we acknowledge them, we know that they are overworked, underpaid, and underappreciated. But that does not mean that we as students do not value them. We as students also recognize that we are not separate from these issues whatsoever. I mean, paying our professors competitive wages will not only solidify MSJC's commitment to our equity pledge, but it will also reflect in the quality of work of our faculty, ensuring that MSJC harbors a healthy work environment where each and every position in the district is highly competitive will translate to us as students having la creme de la creme of an education. But with all that said, this inspiration was sufficient for us to start a student petition where we had the support of over 100 students, making the student body stand on this issue firm and clear. But with ongoing negotiations now that are taking place between our faculty and our administration, we are hopeful that our student viewpoints will be taken into heavy consideration. We eagerly look forward to follow up on this matter in the upcoming weeks in hopes of seeing those demands reflected and cemented in the contracts of said faculty. I really trust that our school's equity pledge will be honored moving forward and kept in mind for these matters as well. Thank you.
And next up, we'll be passing it to Ashley Frieda, our Vice President of the San Jacinto campus, to discuss participatory governance.
Hi, thank you so much for giving me a chance to talk a little bit about participatory governance and how that kind of falls in line with kind of our SGA legislative priorities. So just for the individuals that aren't, sorry, my phone is going off, one sec. I'm really sorry about that. I did not expect that to happen. It's just one of those moments. But yeah, participatory governance is basically a means for students to be directly involved with the decision-making process here at MSJC. And this is done by allowing students to sit on committees that make decisions about institutional changes and priorities, such as like the technology committee, the student success committee, and a bunch more that tackle a whole slew of issues and topics here on campus. Participatory governance also makes sure that all decisions made for students have been made with students in the room, allowing for policies and decisions to truly be student-centered and student-focused. As the SGA, we cannot force students to join these committees, but unfortunately, without students in these spaces, decisions are made without students hearing kind of about them and being able to weigh their opinions on these changes and hearing the student perspective. As a student government body that represents our students on campus, we'd love to see more individuals be involved with this process and again, help make sure that all changes are student-centered and student-focused. In that kind of line, the SGA would love to help share more information to allow students to join these committees and directly impact the campus in a positive way, simply by speaking out about their experiences and how these institutional changes would affect you in these committee meetings. And so with that, that kind of wraps up our SGA legislative priorities, but that leads us to kind of our second big thing that we'd like to talk about coming up in terms of the SGA calendar, which I would like to give the mic back to our president, Diego Martinez, in order to speak of the SGA elections.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ashley. Amazing job. And so as you just alluded to, we have our SGA elections, one of the most exciting times when it comes to our potential students wanting to be directly involved and engaged with our Student Government Association. This is their time to pick up the mantle and possibly run for any position they might be interested in and making their platform. And so in case you don't know, we have our applications are currently open and taking applications for every position, including mine, including Joseph's and Ashley's. In which case our applications are closing tomorrow. So if you are interested, make sure to go to msjc.edu/student government association, and you'll be able to see all the election information you'll need on the sidebar there. This is a great opportunity, and we'll go into some potential reasons and benefits as to why you should join in the next slide here. And some of those reasons include you're able to develop strong leadership skills. So I have been a part of the SGA for the past 2 years. Before serving as president, I served in Ashley's role as the vice president of the San Jacinto campus. And so some of the benefits include the leadership skills, in which case I've been able to witness exponential increase in my ability to confidently public speak, develop my soft skills, which are essential in the modern day workplace, and really just build that connection and sense of leadership within our student body itself. Going on to the next point here, we have stipends. This is also a potential driving factor for the students by being compensated for the work that you are putting in. This really just motivates our student body and our workers to really just maximize the work they are putting forward for our students and really ensuring that we actually get adequate compensation as well for the work that we put in. Last but not least, we also have the ability to leave a lasting impact at MSJC. So as you're able to see within some of our previous legislative priorities, most notably including our student trustee, we have these long range issues that really take time to develop, but they have a lasting impact. So by being able to give our student trustee that initial advisory vote, that is a good first step and a lasting impact in which will have an effect on every other board of trustee going forward, and the vote and perspective our student trustee brings to those meetings. So that is really your way to not only directly engage with the institution, hear from the students, but also utilize a statewide and national perspective when it comes to the impact in which you will leave for the college when your term ends. And as a last little sidebar as well, you may or may not be able to get your own parking spot, ? This is something the SGA has been slightly looking into, and the ability for our executive members to receive parking spots, whether it's during the meetings or a more permanent parking spot within our MSJC campuses. So that is one more additional benefit as well, really having to beat that morning traffic and fighting for a parking spot when that will be a guarantee. Perfect. And now if we can move on to the next slide here, in which case I'll be handing it back to our VP of the Temecula Valley campus, Joseph, to talk about our resources.
So to talk about the many resources that MSJC has to offer, we're happy to feature the fairly newly founded Title IX office. And with us is Megan. Megan, would you like to tell us, give us some insight on what your office does and how students can reach you and where?
Absolutely. Is it possible for me to share my screen?
Ashley?
I believe so.
All right. Can everyone see my screen okay? Can I get a thumbs up? Wonderful. Thank you so much. So thank you so much to the SGA, the Executive Cabinet, for having me here to talk a little bit today about how the Title IX office supports your success as students. My name is Megan Kaufman. I use she, her pronouns, and I've been a part of MSJC since I had joined in the staff in 2021. And I oversee compliance with federal and state law when it comes to responding to incidents that occur on and off campus. Title IX office gets its name from a federal law that protects students and others from any harassment and discrimination based on sex, and that includes gender, sexual orientation, gender identity, and pregnant and parenting status. At MSJC, the Title IX office responds to all reports of sex or gender-based misconduct, whether they violate federal law, California law, or district policy. And examples of specific types of conduct that are prohibited include sexual harassment and discrimination, which could look like someone making inappropriate comments or jokes, sending sexual text messages, or treating someone differently because they're part of the LGBTQ+ community or because they're pregnant. Sexual assault, dating violence, domestic violence, and stalking are all prohibited as well. And these types of misconduct have very specific definitions under federal law. California law prohibits sexual battery, which includes touching of intimate parts or causing someone to touch intimate parts, as well as sexual exploitation, including prostitution, trafficking, and recording and distributing sexual images without consent. And remember that you can report sex or gender-based misconduct that occurs on or off campus, and MSJC is required to respond. It's important for you to know how to report any sex or gender-based misconduct that you might experience, witness, or hear about. And you can make a report to the Title IX office in person, by mail, by phone, by email, or by completing the Title IX reporting form. Remember that anyone can make a report, and a report can be made at any time, even if the incident happened last month, last semester, last year, or before that. You can access the Title IX reporting form on the Title IX page of the MSJC website by clicking in the top left corner. This link will take you to a page where you can access the form. The Title IX reporting form is a great way to make a report because it will ask you for all the information that the Title IX office needs to follow up with the person who experienced an incident. The form will ask you if you are a student and whether you are reporting something that you experienced or something that someone else experienced. If you're reporting something that someone else experienced, you can share if they know you are making the report or not. And there's a section of the form where you can include all the details you know about what occurred and who was involved. Please keep in mind that all faculty and most staff have reporting responsibilities under the law. So if you choose to share information about something you experienced, witnessed, or heard about with someone other than the Title IX coordinator, which is myself, they may be required to make a report on your behalf. It's important for you to know that submitting a report does not always trigger an investigation. Next steps will depend on what was reported. My role as Title IX coordinator is to ensure that members of the MSJC community are able to continue to learn and work here, even when they may have experienced sex or gender-based misconduct. I'm not an advocate, but rather a neutral party that oversees MSJC's compliance with federal and state law and connects all parties involved with support, information, and resources. If sex or gender-based misconduct that you experience is reported to the Title IX office, here's what you can expect. As the Title IX coordinator, I am required by law to respond to all reports of prohibited conduct. I will send an email within 72 hours, but typically I respond the same day that I receive a report. That email will provide some initial information about additional reporting options and resources, as well as a request to schedule a meeting. You are not required to meet with the Title IX office, but it can be a good opportunity for you to get information about next steps and the specific resources that would be most helpful. The Title IX office is responsible for offering students supportive measures that they are entitled to under law. And for example, that could be providing you with access to an advocate with one of our crisis centers that we partner with. Advocates are confidential resources and do not share information with the Title IX office without student consent. Often students who experience some type of sexual harassment or sexual violence may have academic challenges as a result. The Title IX office can communicate with instructors with the student's permission, assist with completing forms for taking incomplete or requesting an excused withdrawal, or connect students with an academic counselor to discuss options. MSJC students have access to free mental health counseling, and the Title IX office can help to facilitate scheduling in-person or telehealth appointments. MSJC's mental health counselors are our only on-campus confidential resources, and they do not share information with the Title IX office. There are also safety measures that can be put into place, which can include providing information for contacting campus safety via call or text, and connecting students with an RSO deputy if they'd like to make a police report or request a restraining order. MSJC can also establish no contact directives that apply to face-to-face interactions while on campus and electronic communication if a student has a safety concern. I hope that the information I've shared with you so far is helpful. Here are a few quick things that you can do to learn more by visiting the Title IX webpage. First, if you're interested in learning more about specific definitions or MSJC's responsibilities under the law, you can access links to Title IX as well as relevant California laws. You can also access district policies to learn about the investigation and adjudication processes. If you're interested in learning about intimate partner violence and sexual assault and how you can be an active bystander to prevent it, you can complete training available through Keenan Safe Colleges. Students who complete the training are entered to win gift cards that will be handed out prior to the last day of classes this semester. And finally, if you have any questions about anything I've shared today, if you'd like to help with understanding MSJC's policy or the law, or if you'd like to know what kinds of resources may be available to you or someone you know, you can reach out to me directly in the Title IX office. And this is my contact information. Please feel free to take a photo or a screenshot so that you have it for future reference. It's also on every page of the Title IX section of the MSJC website. Please note that I am based at the Temecula Valley campus, but because I support the district district-wide, I am always happy to meet with students in person at any of the campuses or virtually if that's easiest. And just remember that report equals support. The Title IX office is just one resource that you have available to you to support your success at MSJC, and I hope that you'll reach out if I can ever be of help. Thank you so much for the opportunity to chat with y'all.
Of course. Thank you so much as always, Megan. We always appreciate supporting our Title IX office and all the various resources that you have to offer. And that then takes us to our SGA events, in which we have the College Activities Committee, in which case they have meetings every Wednesday from 2 to 3 p.m., again in room 911 at the Menifee campus and online via Zoom. This was originally going to be presented by our College Activities Committee. However, Christian is headed up north with the Puente program to go support our nation or our state capital. And so in which case I'll substitute in for him today and present on his behalf. And so the first one that we have up is our College Activities Committee update. So far, the College Activities Committee has been able to work very hard this semester to provide students with a sense of community. This has been a foundation, and in which case we had the Eagle Extravaganza, in addition to the other events hosted in collaboration with the Title IX office, which were a great success. It was especially awesome to see the amount of students wearing the new shirt created for the Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And in addition, the College Activities Committee and the SGA as a whole are currently working on a new event that will be in collaboration with the Honors Enrichment Program. This event is scheduled for May 17th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on the Menifee Valley campus. And lastly, the committee is working on a superlative sheet for the SGA recognition ceremony to promote the camaraderie amongst the officers and the advisors that have been developed throughout the year. And then if we move on to the next slide here, we have our SGA Spirit Hour. So the SGA Spirit Hour is a refined version of the College Hour initially developed in the fall 2022 semester. Although considered more refined, it will be more constantly improving, hopefully in the future years and semesters to come. The goal is to introduce topics discussed in the SGA meetings to students who are not as aware as the advocacy and activities that us officers are involved in. Expanding involvement in the college programs and clubs is another goal essential to the Spirit Hour. And we want students building connections with others. We want an increased sense of community here at MSJC. And that is why we not only produce events and activities, but also inform the students of the work we do with their best interests in mind. So of course, we always want to gather their input on the institution and its performance. And if we're able to move to the next slide here, we will then be moving into our question segment. These can be offered by the students who are on the call right now, as well as questions relating to our administration, Title IX, transfer culture, and anything you guys have in mind. And to start us off here first, we actually had a few student questions submitted beforehand, one of which is guided towards our administration who are on the call today. Thank you all for being here. And the first question is, what can we expect for the future of the Temecula Valley campus? And for any administrators who would like to answer this question, if you could also give a brief introduction and maybe state your position, who you are within the college, for the students to get to know you a little bit better as well.
Jeremy or Joyce, since you primarily have those programs, if you could maybe share.
Sure, I can jump in first with a bit, and Joyce may have more detail as well. But I'm Jeremy Brown. I'm the Vice President of Instruction at the college, and in general, we are we've gotten started on that campus offering the most popular classes for the most part. So classes that meet the largest variety of general education patterns, as well as some specific programs that we really hope meets a need in career education areas and some other areas as well. And so as we, over semester by semester, as we see student traffic increase and students migrate to specific classes, that will help inform the kinds of things that we add into the programming of the campus.
Thanks, Jeremy. Good afternoon. I'm Joyce Johnson. I'm Vice President of Career Education, Nursing, Allied Health, and Counseling here at the Mount San Jacinto College. And I do sit as the sitting administrator for the Temecula Valley campus. And just to add to what Jeremy has said, yes, as we move forward and making it a truly, truly comprehensive campus for our students, we have identified some signature programs with regards to career education at our Temecula Valley campus. And just to name a few, we have our aviation science program there, as well as our culinary arts program. And I say that, just as a start, as we continue to work with our workforce and identify the programs that are needed for our Temecula Valley region over there. But we do, as I said, fully comprehensive with regards to our general ed. And even, Rebecca can speak to the student services. I think we're full now with our student services that we offer there because we have our health center that's open as well. So you have all of your services that you could obtain either virtually from our San Jacinto campus or Menifee Valley campus, now at the Temecula Valley campus as well. So I hope that addressed the question. And if there's more, then please.
Actually, I'll add in. I'm Dr. Roger Schultz, the superintendent president. Although it's not one of our programs, certainly transfer is an area that we are focused on, and we are geographically isolated as a region. And that's why we're working very closely with Cal State San Marcos. You may have seen the signs in the lobby directing students for Cal State to the second floor. They have a number of offerings and limited programs, but their goal is to better serve the area. And we are doing everything we can to facilitate and support them in garnering resources from the state and the federal government to bring an expansion of allied health programs, business. Jeremy helped me out. I think, is it psychology? There's a note, Joyce, if you know as well. But we want to create a number of viable opportunities so students might not have to travel if they have limitations, yet can get a bachelor's degree locally. So we're working very closely to expand that as well.
Absolutely. Thank you all for being able to answer that question, pitch in, and also introduce yourselves. It's always great to hear from our administrators what the plans are, as well as what we are currently doing as an institution to support our students directly through our various programs in which directly engage with our students to best set them up for success. I do have an additional question here, which is, what are the plans or goals for introducing student housing to MSJC?
Well, I can share that we submitted for a grant for a feasibility study last year, and I am not sure where we are with the state on that. I don't know if Vice President Moore or Mr. Beckham has.
Yep, I'm here.
An update.
Yep. Hi, everyone. My name is Brandon Moore, Vice President, Institutional Effectiveness and Enrollment Management. As Dr. Schultz said, we have submitted for a feasibility study grant. That's the first step. The state has pushed that out, so there's not been any movement on it due to funding. Right now, there's actually discussion at the state on what they're going to do with the money that was allocated. There were a lot more requests for dollars than they have dollars to give out. And so right now they're rethinking the strategy. One of the interesting pieces of information that came out recently within the last 6 weeks was that the cost of student housing at the community colleges is actually double the cost of what student housing would be per student at the CSUs. And so there's been some movement with some people, I don't even know who, I'm just going to say some people at the state who are saying that they should be shifting all of those dollars over to the CSUs. Most of that comes from the fact that they already have housing. They already have the infrastructure for that. So now there's some more debate going on So where that's going to land in the end, I'm not sure. Where our feasibility study is going to land, I'm not sure. We are still waiting to actually secure the dollars for that. So we submitted for that grant, but it has not been given due to the current budget conditions at the state. They're postponing when they're giving that out. So we're hoping to hear something again by early next year. So next spring. So that's the latest update. We've gone through our steps, waiting for the state to catch up.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Brandon. Appreciate your answer there. As always, your enthusiasm as well. Cannot wait to hear your future presentations at the Board of Trustees meeting. Next up, I got a question asking, why were the bookstores closed? And was there any survey to students released to gather their thoughts before the decision was made? I think this is mostly in reference to the bookstores, both at the Menifee and San Jacinto campus, I believe.
Sure, I can take that one also. Still Brandon Moore, still Vice President, Institutional Effectiveness and Enrollment Management. So the bookstores have not seen foot traffic in years. So we watched it drop tremendously down as shipping costs of books dropped dramatically. The majority of our students, the vast majority, except for a small handful, actually have books ordered and delivered directly to their house. A lot of students have used other services like Amazon and Chegg and all of those to actually get their books and produce them. So it wasn't a service that students were actually utilizing. We actually did have the bookstores. They've been open the entire time, actually. So they were still open all through this year as well. Barnes & Noble is actually managing it for us. So they've stepped out. So all the supplies and the services are still available to students. So if somebody showed up and the bookstore was closed, it would have only been because the hours were closed, but they've actually been operational even through COVID. It was one of the few areas that remained open on campus, and we had staff in there every day. And I mean, they would see a student a week or something like that, but we had them fully staffed all through COVID as well, even up right and through right now. In fact, they're having sales on a lot of apparel. So here's my pitch. Head over to San Jacinto, head over to Menifee. There is tremendous blowout sales. We are slashing prices on all Mount San Jacinto College apparel. Get your jackets, get your hoodies, get your t-shirts, get your pens, your pencils. Look, time is limited, people, and they're going fast. But they will still continue to operate there, and we'll still continue to have the supplies and everything that students have. And we're continuing to work on coming up with better programs and more efficient programs to make sure students can get the materials they need for their classes when they need them.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brandon. Appreciate that sales pitch. Before we get to Joyce's answer right here, I had one more private message as well for a question, which was, is there an option of getting access to the gym for students? I work as a greeter at the TVC, and I have students inquire about this almost daily. And as well, there was the second question as well to tie these two together, is that if there's a plan to eventually offer all courses needed to complete every degree at the Temecula campus, or does that only apply for certain degrees? So a little bit of a 2-in-1 there.
So I'll take that one as well. So we are currently looking at the gym. I would say that the best way for students to get access to the gym is to actually enroll in our classes that are offered in the gym. So we actually do have PE classes currently running at Temecula. They've been running for a year and a half, I think, but they are still running there. That is the best way for students to get the access. It actually covers everything that they need. So that would be the best way to get access to the gym. And I will say that to expand on what Dr. Brown and Ms. Joyce Johnson spoke on earlier, there is a plan to expand the offerings at all of our sites, but I don't want to say that every program will be available at Temecula, because something like automotive or at nursing, those are very site specific due to the equipment that they have and whatnot. But the idea is that we will have 3 comprehensive locations for students to come in and complete their general education. And I will say the majority of degrees, but due to just some physical restraints, hard to put in the automotive program and some of those other specialty programs. There's a driving simulator up at Menifee that we're probably not going to bring down. There's a flight simulator that's going in here at Temecula for the aviation program that probably won't be duplicated. So I will say, other than some specialty programs, by and large, students will be able to complete the majority of their programs of study that they want at any of the 3 locations.
Thank you so much, Brandon.
Bring it on, Diego. What else you got? And by the way, did I mention there's a sale in the bookstore?
Oh my goodness.
Go get your apparel, people. MSJC gear coming out to your ears. All right.
Please, the sales are amazing, honestly. the next question we have is in reference to Joyce. So sorry, Brandon, you can take a little sip of water in the meantime. But what is being done to make sure there's ample internships or apprenticeship opportunities for our students, as well as adequate information for students to seek out this information?
Thank you. And what an appropriate timing for this question. We have just hired, she is a week on the job already, a director of apprenticeship and work-based learning, training, i.e. internship. So by bringing the director on board, we now have a comprehensive team that is really focused on apprenticeships as well as on our internships. We have been very successful in applying for grants to support our apprenticeship efforts. And so that now we have been awarded those grants, we have the director, so you can truly, truly look forward to it being ramped up with our apprenticeships in some of our disciplines. We do have currently, we have automotive going, we have water technology going, we have some in engineering, and there's a fourth one that's escaping me right now, but we're moving forward with also in GIS drones. We got some funding to do some exploration implementation with drone apprenticeships. And of course, our internships are offered in all of our career education disciplines. But now that we have our director and our full comprehensive team, I would say you would look for more information, more opportunities, information coming through your faculty, through workshops, through presentations that we will be doing throughout the entire district. So thank you for that question. And when you get the opportunity, you'll see the introduction come out of Ms. Tanya Burt, who is the director. So I'll make sure her contact information is also shared that you could really tap into her and her expertise as we're building our apprenticeship and internship programs.
And Joyce, I'd like to just add, very impressive individual that we were able to attract away from the California State Workforce Investment Board. Just incredibly well connected. When Joyce says expertise, she already has a network that is very impressive.
Absolutely. It's always great to hear about our apprenticeship program and exactly how they relate to our technical education as well. And I hope that the institution as well can promote any external internships that our students qualify for as well. I mean, as I am a student that major is in mechanical engineering, last summer I was able to complete a year-round internship where I was able to learn German and go to the country of Germany to engage in a 3-week automotive internship working in an auto shop for 3 weeks in a foreign country, essentially for free. The program was completely free, the language learning was free, and I got international certification in my German. So it's always great to promote any resources that as well come from our students as well. The next question is asked by Gadis, and the question is, are there any plans to introduce healthy foods to all campus cafeterias?
Oh, that's back to me again. So I did, I put an answer in the chat, but yes, actually the cafeteria is looking at sending out a survey to students to ask them, hey, what items and options are they looking for? By the way, I don't know the last time we've done that. So the director of the cafeteria has been great coming up with that idea. Also, we're going to ask staff. We've never asked staff, to my knowledge, what they want either. So I've heard some of those same questions come up among staff to say, hey, what options are there? So that survey will be going out, be asking students. The other thing I would recommend is just ask the people that are in the cafeteria, that are working there. Hey, we're looking at these options, make your requests known to them as well. Our job is to provide what you're all looking for. And so if we need to adjust the menu, they've made some tweaks already in simplifying the menu. But if there's more that we need to do, we absolutely need to provide that. So that's a great question and look forward to that coming out.
Will Taco Tuesday be coming back?
No, Roger, we're not bringing Del Taco onto campus. We have to expect, she said healthy. Healthy was the request.
We had our own tacos that were really good. I didn't have to go to Del Taco.
Yeah, you still went to Del Taco. The only reason Del Taco exists is because of how much you go there, and we all know it. Sorry, that's a sidebar conversation. Back to you, Diego.
Who knows? Maybe a Del Taco collaboration with MHAC should be coming down the pipe soon.
No, see, don't give him ideas, Diego. No, that's not helpful.
What can I say? We're the student government. We have to advocate, you know.
Well played.
That is amazing. So I see there was one more question that wanted to be asked. I don't see it in the chat, but Saeed asked if he could unmute. This will be the last question of our session today. Saeed, if you have your question ready, you can go ahead and unmute and ask away. Oh, it's driving, so. Whatever works best for you, Saeed, whether you want to type in the chat or unmute, that is your choice here. So we heard a pizza with the president. Now they'll talk with the president. That's a good first step, you know. Got 2 thumbs up. All right, Brandon, you have any other sales pitch you want to bring out while we wait for this last question here?
No, but don't encourage Roger with his Del Taco problems. He's gonna have to buy new hoodies and new jackets because his old ones won't fit. So we want to go back to the healthy options. From the man who hates anything green at lunch. He will not eat any sort of vegetable or salad. He gets angry about kale. You should ask Roger about it sometime.
Perfect. All right.
Diego, you had another question in the chat from Gabrielle.
From Gabrielle. Did I miss it?
No, I think it's kind of like a comment ish kind of like thing, but still worth
Yeah.
bringing up while we're waiting.
Yeah, absolutely. If there's any ways to find more leisure events for socializing with other students with similar interests, I think this kind of goes back into the SGA's wheelhouse, especially since we run what's called our Interclub Council. I'm not sure if either Joseph or Ashley would like to speak about what our Interclub Council does and sort of how we can create collaboration with our clubs through this.
All I'll say is I'll let Ashley do the fancy talk, but planning stuff is hard and it takes time. So we're trying, Gabrielle, we are, but yeah, this is really time intensive. But if you have an idea for an event, please hop on board, let us know, and we'd be happy to make it come true if possible.
So Diego, can I also say that if the students bring that information to the student life and office, we can then look at how we can make some things happen. So we're always looking for ideas there, and we'll collaborate with SGA and the other affinity groups that are on or throughout the district. So bring those requests to us and we'll see what we can do.
Exactly. We are your student government, and we do receive, or we hopefully receive, if you choose to opt in, to pay your student government fee. And with that, we are then able to send our officers to conferences, host events like these, and really just advocate and support our student body as best as we can. But now we have our question in the chat by Saeed, in which he wanted to know what the progress has been so far with improving pay and benefits for associated faculty. And the second question or follow-up would be, he wants to know what the school does in terms of maintaining financial transparency, for example, in terms of the STEM grant, I think in reference to both the STEM facilities being in San Jacinto and Menifee.
So back to me for both of those. So typically we're not allowed to negotiate in public, so the district is not able to share a lot. So when you're going to hear reports at the board meetings and other public venues, you will not hear the district talking about their proposals and how negotiations are running. That's not something that is a practice that is encouraged or welcomed, so we don't do that. I will state that we are still in active negotiations with the associate faculty and their union. They did actually receive a raise in October of 2022. So that was the last pay increase that they saw. So that was just a couple months ago. So we are still currently in active negotiations, so that was settled from previously. As far as the maintaining financial transparency, there's nothing that we do that can be in secret at the district. We are a public entity, and everything that we do has to be reported not only to the Board of Trustees at the board meetings, but then also reported to the state. We are audited multiple times a year. Every single piece of money that comes in, every cent is audited and accounted for. We must make sure that we are using legal accounting practices and best practices. The state actually sets up the guidelines for us from the Chancellor's office. The Department of Education sets up requirements as well that we have to follow. All of those reports show up in every board meeting. Anytime we transfer money from account to account, that also is in every board meeting. The board has to approve all of those items. So when you talk about what's in those board meetings, you're going to look at the consent agenda a lot of times for those items, and you will see line by line itemization. At the previous board meeting, just was it last week? I think it was last week. We actually had an accreditation report that also required financial reporting. So you saw in that report given by our dean of fiscal, basically she's our head accountant. She had to actually report out to accreditation what we're doing with all the funds and all our money, both in our general fund and the others. As far as the STEM grant, do we currently have an active STEM grant, Rebecca? We do not. We currently have an active Title V grant. But again, those are all reported. If you're referring to the actual STEM buildings, those are actually not under grants. All of our capital projects, that would be the stadium and the 2 STEM buildings that you see being built, those are actually all coming out of the bond that we were given by the voters back in 2014. So those are all Measure AA projects. They are not funded by the STEM grant. They are funded, the stadium is fully funded by the bond. The San Jacinto STEM and the Menifee STEM buildings are partnerships, or they're 50-50 splits with the state and also the bond. So I hope that answered your questions, but all the documentation for the transparency, even the auditors' reports, we have third-party auditors that have to come in and audit our books to make sure that we are doing everything legal. And they come in and they give reports to the board as well. Diego, I know you've been at the board meetings, so you've heard them. They stand up there and they basically say nothing, and that's a good thing because they can't say you're doing a good job. They just say you haven't done a bad job. So that's how we maintain transparency, and those reports are done all the time. In fact, we're going into our next audit starting next week.
Absolutely. Thank you once again, Brandon.
Sure.
And as well as a quick reminder for our students as well. I know that we've been talking about the Board of Trustees and these meetings. In case you were not aware, the Board of Trustees, they are the elected officials across our various regions that cover the MSJC district. And every second Thursday of the month, from what is 4 to around 6 p.m. at the Temecula Valley campus, we come together in a public meeting. So if any students are interested in joining, they can find any information on the MSJC webpage and come into those meetings, hear these reports that Brandon's speaking about. I promise he has good presentation skills and will keep you engaged throughout. And so really to be able to be engaged and also informed on what's happening in our institution. Of course, we have our SJ there on your behalf, but also if you want to be personally engaged in this, you are more than welcome to join and make any sort of public comments or any other perspectives you may bring as a student to these events, as we are the valued sort of like clients in this example. We are the ones in which the institution are working for. So our voice is immensely powerful, and there's many benefits to coming to these meetings. And as well, there is free Starbucks and cookies. So if food is an incentive, that should be good enough. But yeah, perfect. I think that wraps up all of our questions for today. And so with that, I'd like to pass it to our administrators now to give any updates or reports they'd like to share in this town hall. We can begin with our president here, Roger, if you'd like to start us off.
Yeah, thank you, Diego. I think we've covered a lot of things, but Rebecca will talk a little bit about the end of year activities. But we keep an eye towards the future, and we're watching the state budget, and it was kind of disheartening to hear that the budget shortfall that was originally pegged at about 22 billion in January has seemed to moved up to about a $27 billion shortfall for next year with the state. And we certainly are the recipient of those funds. So we're watching that diligently. I think Dr. Brown will talk a little bit about how we're scheduling, because I know students, you all made some comments the other night. I know we monitor very closely through the instruction and research office, the modality that we offer. And, I'll probably steal a little of Jeremy's news. We've had to cancel a lot of face-to-face classes each term, trying to entice students to come back to campus. But we're seeing that shift slowly but surely. As far as your legislative agenda, we are currently working on the first one to be sure that our goal is to try and get something in front of the trustees shortly, and hopefully have that implemented by fall as the new student trustee is seated for next year. And then certainly, as Brandon mentioned, we are actively engaged in negotiations, and we won't comment on that publicly, other than we are very serious about wanting to treat everybody fairly and appropriately. And then the last item, participatory governance. I appreciate you all trying to be involved. But for somebody who's been involved and also been a former SGA advisor many years ago, I can tell you the level of participation of students in recent years has just been model. Rebecca Teague and I and Brandon and others have gone and visited other schools, and the participation level that you all have exhibited in this last year, and I hope will continue, really sets a tone for truly a model participatory governance. And I thank you for those efforts, and anything that we can do, we will certainly, stand shoulder to shoulder with you to ensure we have the student voice there, because it makes us stronger. And again, I thank you for that. So I'm going to turn it over, since I kind of segued to Jeremy a little bit, because the comments the other night. Jeremy, you want to talk to us a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks so much. Yeah, I'll dive in a bit to kind of what we're planning for the fall. And it is true, when we've had extremely low enrolled classes, unfortunately, we do have to cancel those. There are other issues in addition to that, though. We want to support face-to-face classes on campus, and there's a lot of value, obviously, to bringing more students on. But we also had more than 2,000 students on wait lists, many of those in the same classes that we were offering in person. So it is a zero-sum game. We oftentimes, where we offer a face-to-face class, that might sacrifice a section of online where students are really demonstrating that they want that. So there's a lot of just consideration that goes into this, and we look down at the course level, at the department level, to see what needs there are. Some courses just don't work as well online, and many of those we are going ahead and just shifting in person as well. The other thing that concerns me is that when we, the point has been made that just only offer face-to-face and only give that option, and that will change behavior. The only one issue with that is that there are for-profit organizations, for-profit universities that are very good at attracting students to their institutions. These institutions are more expensive to attend. They use up financial aid earlier for students, and so we don't achieve our mission of offering the access to students if we see those students drift away to other institutions. So there's just a lot hanging in the balance with that. I will say, though, we're in the middle of the process of schedule development right now. And as it stands today, we are increasing in-person enrollment compared with last year. So compared with last fall, right now we have 70 additional in-person sections on the books. I know that in some of the areas where we have increased the in-person, we've certainly heard both student and faculty pushing for those things. And I understand that when the petition came through, some of those departments were kind of in the process of working through approvals in getting those shifts from online into face-to-face. So those changes were already in process at that point. So we are taking just a really department by department and course by course approach to looking at what we can increase in person or maintain in person, and also making sure to keep open the online courses that we can. So that's kind of the approach that we're going for, and we will continue to make changes as we see student needs and student behaviors change down the road.
And I'll jump in. Hi, my name is Rebecca Teague, and I'm the Interim Vice President of Student Services. And I have a couple things I'd like to share with you this afternoon. Thanks for joining us today. So the first being graduation, and I'm hoping I might be able to share my screen. So whoever's moderating, if you wouldn't mind allowing me that access. But I'll keep talking about it until I get the access. So we have graduation coming up. It is one of the premier events of the entire year. It is Thursday, May 25th. We have two different sessions, one at 10:30 and one at 3:30. It is by RSVP, and we're asking folks to RSVP for one of those. So we're really excited to be able to offer that. It's always a fantastic day of just huge celebrations. So here's the information, and I will put it in the chat for the information on the website on where it's located. The other thing I want to mention is our end of year celebrations. These are outside of the actual graduation event, but I will say most of our affinity groups are creating some type of celebration for the specific community or students. And here is a listing of all of those end of year celebrations. We have them starting next week on the 27th. And you'll see that many of them are by invite only because it's specific to a program, but you'll see that others are by just open and anyone can RSVP for those. So you'll see the Lavender celebration, which is for our LGBTQ population and their families and their friends and their buddies. That is on May 5th, and there's an RSVP link. We have a transfer signing day coming up, which we're super thrilled about for anyone who might be graduating, but also transferring, or those that might not be graduating, but just solely transferring. We want to celebrate you. The La Raza graduation, or excuse me, end of year celebration is also available at Mani. So just go down this list and you can attend multiple as they are available, but there's tons of things going on. And so I can't encourage you all enough to get involved and participate in all of those events and activities at the end of the year. The last thing I want to mention to you all is that MSJC is currently undergoing a review and revision of our mission statement, and we're looking for feedback on that mission statement by students. And so this is available on our SharePoint site. You should have access to that. I'll stick that in the chat. But the documented draft is available on the SharePoint site. And if you have any feedback on this whatsoever, if you think we need to modify or change or include information, there is a link at the bottom of the page that if you can't attend a listening session, the next one is on the 24th at 11 a.m. If you can't attend the listening session, we have a submission form that you can put in your feedback anonymously so that you can share all the good information you want us to hear about the mission statement. And if you think it's fantastic and you love it as is, you can definitely share that with us also. And so those are my updates. And at this point, I'll throw all that information in the chat, and I wish you all a great end of the year.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Rebecca. And next up, I think Brandon is eager to go up next here. If you have any updates, the floor is yours.
I haven't said enough. I mean, I guess well, so I don't know if I mentioned this, but if you head over to the bookstores, we do have a apparel on sale. So just FYI, if you want to know that. By the way, Ashley, I agree. The hybrid class seems to be very popular. Students are gravitating towards those, and we are seeing those fill up at a much higher rate. And so we have seen an expansion in our offerings there. Just so you all know, our general philosophy on enrollment and managing all the enrollments and offerings, we want to offer classes, days, times, modalities that students want them in. Diego, I love what you said earlier. You are the consumer, you are the customer. You are the one, the students are who we're here for. Our goal is to set up and maximize student access to the classes they need to complete their goals in a way that they want to complete them. So we have students on all sides of this, right? We have students who are saying, I want more on-ground classes. We have students saying, I want more hybrid. We have students saying, I want more online. And we are trying to balance the resources that we have as far as facilities and faculty to make sure we can offer that best mix. So we do appreciate the conversation and the input always. I actually am going to the Academic Senate in a couple of weeks to talk to the faculty. Same thing going though. If everybody wants to come back, we will open up all the classes on ground. If everybody wants to stay online, we'll put them all online. Unfortunately, it's never that easy because it's always a mix, but so we appreciate the feedback and we will continue to work on it.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Brandon. You must be just absolutely gassed today after how much speaking you've been able to do, but amazing promotional abilities and being able to really speak to all the different needs that the students have and being able to answer all of our questions very effectively and honestly. Yeah, we definitely appreciate that. And so with that, I believe We also have Michael Beckham on the line. Michael, I'm not sure if you had any reports you'd like to share today.
So I was going to try to save you guys from having to see this face on screen, but here I am. I'm not sure if it's been mentioned, but I just want to make sure that you're aware the bookstore is having a sale on apparel. Just teasing. Of course, I know you've heard that. I don't have any report other than just to amplify the comments that Dr. Schultz made with respect to the state budget. It's a challenging picture that's developing next year with an increasing shortfall from the governor's proposed budget in January. So we're waiting to see how the May revise shakes out. And so that's expected to come out around May 10th. And you'll be hearing updates from me at the board on that topic once it's out. So anyway, but good to see all of you and best wishes as the semester wraps up. And I know that many of you are making the transition from Mount San Jacinto College on to your next step in your higher education journey. And I just want you to know that we're all very proud of you and wish you the best always.
Absolutely. So thank you so much, Michael. We appreciate all your comments and all the support. We only have what is like 3 weeks left in the semester. So the time is definitely coming down. Finals are like approaching us very quickly. So yeah, it's always great to hear all the legislative updates that we all have. And so with that, with all of your reports completed and with our presentation done, I think we are good to officially wrap up this semester's Spring Town Hall. I'd like to thank you all for coming, being able to join us, whether it's via Zoom or on the YouTube live stream. We appreciate all your support. And if you are interested in further joining and learning more about these issues, you can find all the information on msjc.edu/Student Government Association. If you are interested in applying, once again, the applications do close tomorrow, which is Friday. So get those applications in ASAP. The application should take no less or no more than 5 minutes, honestly. So really, it is not that big of a time commitment, but if you are interested, feel free to look through all of our information. But with that, I'd like to thank you all, and we are good to wrap up this live stream.